guys. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the We're Having a Good Time podcast. My name is Dusty Slay, and I'm your host of the We're Having a Good Time podcast. It's going to be a hot one, guys. I haven't written anything down, so I don't know what I'm going to talk about, but I feel like it's going to be a hot one. I've been on my phone arguing with my friend Aaron Weber about country music again. I'm going to try to not look at it because my friend's making me angry. This was just shared by the Whiskey Riff Instagram channel. I don't know what they are other than that, but Post Malone and Beyonce take home the American Music Awards for favorite male and female country artist. And I was just saying to Aaron and Brian Bates, who has not chimed in, how ridiculous this is. And Aaron seems to support it. And it's frustrating to me because they're not country, right? And this is my problem. Yes, they made a country album, but they're not country. So then they're going to win Best Country Artist. And what does that mean for country music going forward? What does it even mean to be country music? If you don't have any of the traditional things in country, then what are we even doing? Why even have a genre? Why don't we just have radio stations that we turn on and they're just called music instead of having genres? Why even have them? Radio is dying, and this is a big part of it. People don't want to believe it. They don't want to hear it. And I don't know these things. I don't have insider knowledge. I don't have some special insider track to anything. I'm just deducing this from what I see out here, right? It's like, you don't see any independent artist ever popping up on the radio. Sirius XM does a good job of still putting people out. Outlaw Country, Willie's Roadhouse, they'll do a good bit of that. And I'm sure other channels do. But those are really good at doing it. But for the most part, you never hear any independent artists because DJs have no freedom to play anything they want. I was talking to a guy, and he was telling me that he's a comic, but his day job is to be a radio DJ. And I asked him, I said, do you get to play any of your own songs? And he goes, oh, no. It's all written down for him. All he does is push buttons, and he may get to talk a little bit in between, but none of his own choices. So it feels like in times past, what you would get is you would get a radio DJ, and then the radio DJ would have knowledge of music, and he would play tracks and play, or she, and play things that they liked and that would appeal to other people. And then you could find new music listening to the radio. Now it's like these record labels, it feels like, the radio and record labels, they all go hand in hand. So they go, hey, yeah, play my stuff. And then, they just can make someone a star. I think people can soundly reject an artist and then they not become a star. But I think if there's a big push and they really want you to become a star, then I think they'll make it happen. And I think that's what goes on out here a lot of times. And it's just frustrating. So, and it's like, so these two pop stars, these two widely celebrated pop stars, it's not as if they don't have unbelievable careers, right? Like if one of these, Beyonce or Post Malone, were a struggling musician who was very talented but struggling. And then they decided, you know what, I've always wanted to make a country record. And then they make a good country record and everybody goes, wow, that was great. I had no idea that you had that kind of country in you. And then that would be different. But they're both highly celebrated. And I honestly don't care about award shows so much because I think that the award shows are just as rigged as, everything else. But, it is too bad if you're like, you're really trying to make it in country and you really care about country. That's all. That's my whole thing I'm going to say on it. I wasn't even really planning on talking about that, but Aaron got me fired up out here. But I feel good. This weekend, I'm going to be in California. On Thursday, I'm going to be in Modesto, California. On Friday, I'm going to be in Bakersfield. Speaking of good country music, Bakersfield, California, where you get people like Buck Owens and the Dwight Yoakam sound and the Merle Haggard sound, and it's all great. So Bakersfield, and then on Saturday, I'll be in San Jose, California. So that's very exciting. I like a California run. I've never been the biggest fan of Los Angeles, but I do love California. I just feel like it feels good out there. I like it. I mean, I wish it were cheaper. I wish it were easier to live there because, man, the farming that I could get done in certain parts of California would just be very exciting. And maybe one day it will be the land of the free in California, and we can all move there and grow avocados and mangoes. I don't know what grows there. Almonds for sure. And then this past weekend, I went to Burlington, Vermont. I really enjoyed the city of Burlington. I did not get to see very much. It was cold. It was rainy. I mean, we're at the end of May, and it was like in the 40s there. I didn't see the world's tallest filing cabinet. I did go see the lake, although I did not see the Leviathan in the water. And what was another thing I was supposed to see? Either way, I didn't see it. So none of the Burlington features that I see, but just like Portland, Maine, it reminded me a lot of Charleston, South Carolina. It's a small historical city. I found everybody to be very nice. Although there is sort of I feel like these are older people, not people, and I guess I'm getting older, but I don't think about myself as an older person. I mean people older than me. I feel like there is a bit of a northeastern thing where people are not very nice. You know what I mean? Like, not once you're in a restaurant, not once you're introduced to them, but I just mean on the street. There's no eye contact. There's no looking at you. And I'm not so into that. I do still like a Southern thing where you go, how you doing? Good, you? I like that thing. I'm a big fan of that. And sometimes I think a lot of that is lost in the South. And a lot of it is lost. But you really do appreciate it once you go up north and you realize that it's not there. But in restaurants, people were very nice to me. The comedy shows were great. I don't think all the shows sold out, but they were all very close to sold out. So they were all packed shows, and I enjoyed them. I also feel like the Northeast vibe, now maybe it's my comedy, but it is more of a polite thing as opposed to really loud, boisterous laughter. And you could easily go, well, maybe that's just your jokes. But I had a lot of fun there. I liked it. I do wish it were warmer and sunnier because I would have explored more, but I just was not motivated to do it. I mean, I would go up to my room at the end of the night and I would get my long johns on. I didn't bring a coat, but I would put on 2 shirts. I would put on a corduroy shirt and a wool shirt. And that's how I would go outside and have cigars because I really had to wrap up because it was cold. And I ran into people. One guy at a coffee shop I went to, he said, I love the podcast. I don't know if he was talking about mine or about Nateland. I always assume they're talking about Nateland because it has a bigger reach. And then another guy came up to me in the coffee shop. And then I had a little back and forth with a lady. She was, a bit older than me. from the looks of it, there's a college there in Burlington. From the looks of it, her daughter was in college and she was there visiting her. That's what I deduced from certain context clues. But we sat down and the lady, I heard her go, I don't want to sit by the door. And she moved. And I wanted to sit by the door because the other seat that I was in was too close to another guy. So I moved to the door and she goes, oh, you want to sit next to the door, huh? And I was like, oh, yeah, this is a hot seat. And then that restaurant was very busy. It's called August 1st is what it was called. It was very busy. People kept coming in. The door kept opening. It didn't have one of those things that would close the door for it either. So unless people closed it, it just remained open. And eventually, after the girl's daughter got up a couple of times to close the door, I said to the lady, I should have listened to you. You knew what was happening, and I should have listened to you. And we laughed, and we had a good time. And then later I was back at the hotel, and I was smoking in the non-smoking area. And I saw that lady and the younger girl come up, and the younger girl, college age, I would say, locked her bike to the bike thing, but she only locked her front wheel. I was like, that's easy to steal. All you got to do is unhook that front wheel and you can steal the rest of the bike. But maybe Burlington doesn't have that problem, although it did seem like they had a bit of a fentanyl population there, if you know what I mean. And so I said to the lady, I go, oh, at this point, I feel like you're following me around. And me and the lady had a good laugh, and the daughter seemed really annoyed. She was like, it looked like she was like, these old people are bonding out here. But then later, they were leaving the hotel with two other people, and the lady goes, we're headed up to blah, blah, blah. If you want to follow us up there, making a joke. If I had gone, they probably would have thought it was weird. But then they got up the street a little bit, and I guess the other two people recognized me because the college girl who previously seemed very annoyed with me said, hey, are you a comic? And I said, yeah. And she was like, cool, and gave me a thumbs up. And I was like, yeah, I've been cool this whole time. You've been annoyed because you thought I was just some older dude drinking a lot of coffee and smoking cigars, but that's just a drink of water there for you guys. I got a thing I want to read after that. But it was cool. I had a good time in Burlington. We really were getting it done there, and I'm excited about it. My first trip to Vermont. I want to read this, and then I'm going to go over it because I don't know how many people that listen to this podcast are in the Facebook group. We have a We're Having a Good Time Facebook group, and I get involved. I get involved in all the groups. I mean, I'm in the consumers group on Facebook, Greg Warren's group. I'm in Nateland, and I get involved. I try to keep myself out of there. I've deleted myself out of groups several times, and then I add myself back in. I want to get back in. I like to be in the action. My face is red. I know my face gets red. I was in the shower, and I got out, my face was real red, and then I was arguing with Aaron for a while. People love to point out that my face is red. I get it, guys. I get it. But I am fired up today. I've had to do radio already today. I've did 2 radio calls, and I had a call about doing some international shows. I don't know if I'll do it, but I did have a call about it. And then I'm doing this podcast, and then I got 2 more radio things, and then I'm going to do something for PBS. So my hair's wet because I showered. I didn't anticipate that I'd be doing a podcast right now. But I said, you know what, let's go ahead and do it. So someone put into the Facebook group, I'm going to go ahead and say who it was. Tyler Brown put this in the Facebook group. Tyler Brown went on to say, because I told him I really enjoyed this. He said, glad you enjoyed it. Also, this is a 100% true story. When you joined Nateland, I stopped listening. Just not my thing at all. I randomly started listening again about 6 months ago and realized that you made me laugh more than the other guys. No offense to them. This bingo card is part of my repentance. I was wrong. I'm glad that he admitted that he was wrong because I like when he said, just not my thing at all. And I don't know what his thing is or what his thing was not. But I came on to the podcast very hot, I think. And, I don't know if people have ever done that sort of thing where you have basically three guys on a podcast for 100 episodes. And then all of a sudden they add you. I think some of these people act like, and I'm not saying Tyler Brown is acting like this, but some people act like I forced my way onto the show. Like I came on, like I showed up at Nate's house and they were like, you can't do the podcast. And I was like, nah, I'm doing it. And then they just couldn't get me to leave. I think that's what some people think. But I added in a new dynamic. Now, I get it. I mean, some people are not into the truth, right? They don't want to hear that all the things that they've been taught all this time in their lives is lies. It's hard to hear that sort of stuff. But the more you realize that it's true, the freer you become. You suddenly don't worry about a lot of things because you're like, oh, all of this is lies anyway. And it feels good. It feels good to be free from that. And that's where I'm at. Sure, I fall for some things now and then. I still get pulled in a little bit and I start thinking some of this is real and I start taking things serious. But none of it's real. Only the Bible is real and only the King James Version. That's not true. There are some other versions that are real, but only the Bible is real. And just read that and don't worry about the rest of the stuff. That's your lesson. And AI is taking over. I know I used to say AI was demonic, and then I said recently that AI might not be demonic. But apparently there's this Google VO3 or something that's coming out. A lot of people are talking about it on TikTok, and then a lot of videos have been shared that seem like really, really realistic. And I'm like, oh, nah, that could be demonic. And so it's an interesting time to be alive because I already feel like that you can't believe audio. You never really could believe audio because people can do impressions of voices. But now you can't believe video. You can't believe pictures. I've saved a lot of old videos and old pictures that from before AI, or at least before the AI we are allowed to use. There very well could have been AI the last 10 or 20 years, for all we know, that was just in the hands of more powerful people. We don't even know what technology is out there. I feel like sometimes we get the old tech, like, I don't want to say the government, but whoever the powerful people are, they have the good new technology and they're having a good time with it. And then when they get something new, they go, all right, give that old tech to the people now. Let them play around with that. We got something new. So who knows if any of the pictures are real that we see, but you definitely can't believe pictures anymore. For a while they were like, because people are always saying that there used to be giants. The Bible says there used to be giants. And Native American tribes, there's stories of Native Americans saying that there were red-headed giants that roamed America during their time. They said they were very tall and had 2 rows of teeth, is what they would say. And a lot of people believe they're buried in these giant mounds around the country. But that never really gets talked about. So there'd be these pictures that looked historical, and there would be these really big people standing next to, regular-sized people. But now it's like if you see those pictures, it's like, I don't know, I could create one of those on my phone in a matter of seconds. It's easy to do. So who knows? We can't believe any of our pictures. I would say if you don't have a physical Bible, go ahead and go out and buy one. Don't rely on your app on your phone because, it could get changed at any time. I'm not against the app, but I would have a physical copy. And you might even think about, instead of going to a Books A Million or a Barnes & Noble and buying one, go to like a used bookstore and try to buy an older Bible. That's just my recommendation before, who knows? Who knows what gets changed? Who knows what happens? Some people believe in the Mandela effect. I'm not sure that I actually believe the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect, the idea, and I'm going to get into this other thing that I said I would talk about, but the idea of the Mandela effect is that, I don't know, there's time travel or whatever, and people can go and change things. So stuff that you remember as a kid is now, when you look it up, you go, oh, well, that's not how I remember it. And collectively, enough people say that they don't remember that they start to believe, well, maybe this was changed. And I forget the one that I really gets me is like the Bernstein Bears. Right? I mean, I feel like it was Bernstein, like Stein. And now it's Bernstein. But I feel like I had a roommate. His last name was Epstein, right? Adam Epstein. And this is Steve Martin, by the way. Some people think it's John Kerry. Some people think it's Jeffrey Epstein. It's Steve Martin, the poster behind me on the wall. And, but Adam Epstein, he was a Jewish guy. So we made the joke that the Bernstein Bears were like Jewish bears, because Berenstein. But then later it's Berenstain. And it's like, well, that's not right. And that's the one that really tripped me up. And there was a thing for a while where people would say you could take an old BlackBerry phone and you could put it over something like that, and it would give you what the original actually looked like. It got so far that I almost bought an old BlackBerry online just to try it. But then I said, what are you doing? Get it together. None of this is real. It doesn't matter. So I didn't do it. But why was I even talking about the Mandela effect? But I don't know. I've lost track. That's on the bingo card, I think. All right, so this is what I want to read you. This is the bingo card that somebody wrote, Tyler Brown. From Tyler Brown, I created a fun little bingo card for Dusty's podcast. It's not meant to be malicious. I love Dusty. Remember, he quit listening to Nateland because I wasn't his sort of thing. But you know what? He came back. And then he goes, you know what? I get it now. And I appreciate you. Welcome to the club. Oh, so the first bingo card, the first spot on here, Dusty forgets what he was talking about. Listen, that's what it's like when you're alone in a room talking to yourself. You're like, you go off on a tangent and then there's nobody here to go. You were talking about this. That's what it's like, guys. He mentions the land in McMinnville. Well, yeah, the land is a segment. It's a segment where I give you updates on the land. I'll tell you something, though. I watch TikTok, and there's kind of an AI video that says, whatever state you're in, it knows where you're at, and it'll tell you things about the state. So I looked at one of the videos was the most boring city in Tennessee, and it went through 10 cities. McMinnville was number 5 most boring city in Tennessee. And then I just looked at one today, the poorest cities in Tennessee. Number 1 was McMinnville. That's how I could afford to buy land there. People think I made money out here. That's how I can afford to buy land. It's a poor place in Tennessee. And it's also why I like it. I want to, I don't think McMinnville is the most boring city in Tennessee, but it's not the most exciting, I'll tell you that. All right. Dusty commits to doing his podcast every week and then disappears for 3 months. Well, that's going to happen, guys. That's going to happen. But I am committed to doing it every week again. Here's another. Dusty misinterprets the Bible. Well, that is up to your own interpretation. As far as I'm concerned, I always say to people, I say, hey, listen, I'm not saying I'm right about this, but he can't give any examples of misinterpretations, okay? This is what Bible is today to people. whatever their preacher says, or whatever mainstream preacher is talking about, that's what they believe. If someone who doesn't have a seminary degree has an interpretation, they go, well, let me see what my preacher says. And then their preacher, who was indoctrinated in some seminary somewhere, goes, well, that guy's an idiot. And then they go, see, I knew it. He's an idiot. Now, there's preachers that reach out to me and email me, and you listen, I may not agree with everybody's interpretation, but I still like them, right? I mean, I'm into people, and I don't want us all to agree. It's not fun when we all agree. I think that's a lot of people's problem with me on Nateland. It's like, for the most part, they all agree with each other, and then I come in with some so-called weird view, and people can't handle it. I think it makes it fun. If I said space is fake, and then Brian and Aaron and Nate all went, yeah, it is fake, I'd probably be like, nah, it's real. Because I don't, I'm not into doing what other people are doing. So that's up to interpretation. I feel like if you mark that, if I talk about the Bible and you mark that on your bingo card, well, you just got to be careful doing that sort of thing. You don't want to have that on your bingo card and God go, what's that? Okay, here we go. Dusty wonders out loud if what he was saying is funny. That's another thing. When you're in a room by yourself, how do you know? Some of the comedy gigs I would do back in the day there would be a radio host, and the radio station will be promoting the show. So one of the DJs would come out and open the show. And these are guys, probably funny guys, but they're sitting in a room all day telling their jokes on radio, and they don't know if anybody is actually laughing at them or not. So it's tough to say. Let's see. Here we go. Dusty says he likes something and then immediately complains about it. Well, yeah. Who likes anything, really? I mean, by the way, I love this bingo card. This made me laugh out loud so much. I pulled it up. Hannah was in the room with me, and I started reading it to her, and we laughed out loud at a lot of these. I'm a complainer. I like to complain, but I also recognize that I have a good life and that everything is great and wonderful and that there is nothing to complain about and that it's ridiculous to do so. But I like it. I like complaining. Man, and this is on the bingo card too, when I sold pesticides, listen, I had 2 jobs for 10 years, okay? I was a pesticide salesman and a waiter from 2003, let's say 2004 to 2014, okay? 10 years. That's all I got. But when I sold pesticides, there was this guy, he was the sales rep in Lowe's for sink fixtures. And when me and him were at the same store, we would stand on that sink fixture aisle for an hour complaining about our jobs. We got paid to stand there and complain about our jobs. What a great job. And I've done this a couple times already. Here's another one. Dusty reminds the listener that he is by himself. Well, I am by myself, guys. Dusty makes a comment that shows he's definitely addicted to TikTok. I forgot this was on here, but I've talked about TikTok several times already. Oh, here's the next one. Dusty mentions working for Hyman's or Spectracide. People are complaining about my taking sips of water on the podcast. This one's on here too. Dusty talks about being gassy. I just want you to know, I just farted 2 times while talking, and I don't know if it showed up. I don't know if you would have heard it or not, but I just want to acknowledge that it happened because I don't want to go back through and try to edit that out. Okay. Dusty desperately tries not to mention that the other podcast he is on is called Nateland. Well, I do sometimes go, I'm on another podcast. I just feel like, I feel like I'm just name dropping out here, and we're just having a good time. I'm just in a room by myself with a lot of gas, not remembering what I'm talking about, and we're having a good time here. Dusty complains about the bad spirits at a True by Hilton. This is going to be a tough one on your bingo card because I don't stay at True by Hilton anymore. I won't stay at True by Hilton. I stay at a lot of Hilton properties. I like Hilton. I was just at the Hilton Garden Inn this weekend. I like Hilton. I'm a big fan of it, but not True by Hilton. I will not stay there anymore. There's demons in there. There's something in there. I freaked out in a lot of hotel rooms being high, but only True by Hilton have I freaked out, not high. It's a scary place. Dusty wonders out loud if he should change the name of his podcast. Well, I feel like We're Having a Good Time gets misinterpreted sometimes, and I think it's taken on a life of its own to where people think that I'm just supposed to be having a good time all the time. But I don't know how I picked that up. This is how I picked it up. Because for one, I say we're having a good time. And two, in 2012, let's go to 2014. In 2014, I became a full-time comic who didn't drink anymore. So I was like, what a beautiful life that I have. I'm never hungover, and I just travel the country in my car listening to country music and telling jokes to people. So I am happy, and I'm still happy, but the complaining in me has to come back because it's just fun to do. It's fun to let it out. And so then I'm like, well, can I keep calling this the We're Having a Good Time podcast if I'm just complaining all the time? I think so. Here's another. Dusty complains about something for 15 minutes and then says it doesn't bother him. Well, that's the way to complain, right? You complain for a while and you go, hey, but it don't matter to me. It don't bother me. Whatever you want to do. That's the way to do it. Dusty mentions having a good time when he's clearly not having a good time. That's the whole point. We're having a good time is for when you're not really having a good time. Dusty insults a Nateland sponsor. Well, I don't really do that anymore because now they don't have me read sponsors that I don't agree with. There was a health drink, and I used to really enjoy, I'm not going to mention them by name, but I used to really enjoy reading those ads because I thought it was a fun ad, and I could do it very sarcastically. But I also learned some things about it, and I didn't support it anymore. And so I felt a little conflicted about reading the ad. That's why I don't want sponsors. I watch a lot of, now I realize if people are podcast only, that's how they make their money. So they have to read the ads. But I see guys on podcasts and they're reading an ad and I'm like, do you really believe in this? Or are you just taking whatever will pay you money? I don't want to read ads. This is what I think about. There's certain companies, I don't want to get too into it because I don't want to get in trouble. But there's certain companies that I think they advertise on our big mainstream news organizations, and I think that their ads are not really to get you to buy their product. It's that they run so many ads that they then control that network. The network can now not do a report on that thing because that is their sponsor and they will lose their money. I don't like being controlled like that. Here's another. Dusty fails to hide his contempt for Bert Kreischer. I saw a thing on Facebook. Listen, I used to love Bert Kreischer. I saw a thing today where it was like, and I hope it's fake, but it was like a movie poster of Bert Kreischer playing Uncle Buck. I would see it just because I would need to break it down. But Uncle John Candy is one of my favorite comedic actors of all time. Nobody does John Candy. John Candy did some bad movies. He did some characters that are not good and I did not enjoy. But for the most part, John Candy was a banger. And Uncle Buck is a classic all-time. John Hughes, John Candy coming together. It's big time. There's nobody else that does Uncle Buck. There's no more Uncle Buck. Dusty forgets the name of the comic he worked with over the weekend. I didn't do it this week, though, guys, so don't mark that on your calendar, but I do that a lot. Dusty talks about being gassy. Dusty complains about bad customer service that he received. Well, it's out here, guys. Customer service is at an all-time low. I mean, you can't get anybody to do anything out here for you. I will say the 2 restaurants I went to in Burlington, Vermont were on top of it. They were really great. I really enjoyed myself. Dusty complains about the current state of country music. Well, I opened the podcast with that one today. Dusty goes silent for 45 seconds while he takes a sip of water. I do that. Listen, I get thirsty. I'm a thirsty guy. Always have been. I had a guy send me a private message. I have this message board on my website. I don't know why people use that. DustySlayComedy@gmail.com is the best way to reach me. But this guy said, let's see if I can find the message here, because he said, Dusty, can you not drink while you're doing your podcast? The sound is not good. I wrote him back and I said something to the equivalent of, messages like this make me want to do an entire podcast of just drinking. This is not a perfect podcast, okay? It's not going to sound the best all the time. I'm not going to be as prepared, and I'm not asking anybody to listen. I do want you to listen. I do want you to watch it. I do want you to share it. I want you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I want you to click the bell for notifications. Like the video. Leave a comment. Yeah, of course I want you to do all those things. But if the drinking is too hard for you, then you should go off and find one of these podcasts where guys are just talking to themselves and laughing a lot. Find one of those, because this is a podcast where I talk and then I drink water. I like to sip on the water. A lot of times it's coffee that I'm doing. This is some coffee I had earlier today. This is a mug called the Falcon Rest Mansion and Gardens in McMinnville. Me and Hannah stayed there before we got our cabin, and I thought Hannah would love it, because I went to the gift shop and we were talking to this real old man, and because she's a history buff, and boy, did she hate it. Dusty mentions doing theater shows instead of club shows. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm in a transition. I'm going from a club comic to a theater comic, and there's a lot to talk about there. I mean, it's a big deal. You know what? This weekend, Burlington, Vermont, I did the Vermont Comedy Club. I did a club, not theaters. This weekend in California, all theaters. So this is what's happening. All right, 2 more to go. Dusty mentions the poison we put in our bodies while simultaneously discussing his weed and cigar consumption. All right, couple of things here. When I was in Portland, Maine, I went to a dispensary. They advertise all organic products. Cigars. My understanding is that all cigars are hand-rolled. Each cigar is hand-rolled. Studies that are done on the harmful effects of tobacco are almost always based on cigarettes. I think cigars, obviously you can abuse it. Obviously you can abuse weed. But I think flower and good hand-rolled cigars, I think are totally fine. I'm not telling you to do those things. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Don't take any advice from me on anything. And then the last one. Dusty discusses living by biblical principles and then casually mentions watching Deadpool and Wolverine. Well, I'm going to go ahead and say you got me there. I mean, 100%. That movie is vile. It is one of the most vile things I've ever seen. I can't believe I watched it. But this is what happened to me. And this is what people, I think, need to understand about me. I have always been a Christian, but I was living a wild life for a long time. Even as a kid, I was around wild people. I learned adult street jokes, the kind of jokes that you tell people. There was a joke that I learned from my cousins. It was a joke where a guy, where it's a kid, talks about taking a shower with his mom and having some questions. And he asks, "What are those?" She says, "Those are my headlights." He says, "What is that?" I hope your kids are not listening. But I was a kid. And then she gives it a name. And then he takes a shower with his dad. He says, "What is that?" His dad says, "That's my Z28. And then the final punchline was, the kid was like, "Better turn on your headlights, better open your gates. Here comes daddy with a Z28, right? That was a joke that I learned as a kid, and I told that to my mom and my dad separately. They both laughed, and then they both said, while still laughing, you shouldn't be telling jokes like that. And I didn't even know what I was talking about, okay? I had good people around me, but all pretty wild. I learned a lot of things, and I learned them too fast. And then when I was, 16, 17, I really got into other things. I got into doing substances. And then I would continue to do those, well, to some degree until now. But others, I quit drinking, 10 years ago, 12 years ago. But, there's a lot to unpack here. So, yeah, I got roped into Marvel movies. I'd never was into any of them. There was 2 or 3 that came out. There was Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor, I think, had come out. And an Incredible Hulk. And I didn't watch any of those. But I went to see The Avengers with a couple of my friends in the theaters. And I was like, holy crap, I love this. And so I went to the theater and saw it again. And it just hooked me. And I started, because I collected comic books and comic book cards as a kid. I still have a bunch of the cards. And I was just like, man, this is awesome. I love this. So I love a good action movie. I always loved a good fantasy movie. So I just got locked into them. And I watched all of them. I've watched, every Marvel movie up till, Endgame, Infinity War, whichever one was last. And then, I just kind of pick and choose from there. And, the Deadpool-Wolverine combo seemed fun. I knew the Deadpool movies were dirty and that I shouldn't be watching them, but I was like, I don't know, I like them. And I was on a plane and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And that movie, it was so over the top. The Wolverine movies were always so good. It was just an unnecessary movie. It didn't need to be made, and it didn't need to be that dirty. It doesn't need to be dirty at all. None of these things need to be dirty, but this is what people like. People go, oh, yeah, it's like a Marvel movie, but they cuss a lot. And I'm like, yeah, but why do you need that? Why do you want a Marvel movie that cusses a lot? Cussing doesn't add anything to anything. This is what cussing does. When you're mad, it adds emphasis. I like it. That's the only time it makes sense to me. But yeah, I got things that I'm always trying to rid myself of. And honestly, country music is one of those things that I should stop listening to. I wrestle with it all the time. I had a real classical music phase that I went through recently. And overall, I felt like I was happier and I felt like my mood was improved. But, eventually I dive back into country music. I love country music. I like the way country music sounds. That's why I rail against country music, because new country music, it doesn't have the country sound. And that's what I like. So when it doesn't have it, it bums me out. But country, it promotes a lot of non-biblical principles, promotes a lot of bad things, and I'm not into it. So I should stop listening to that, but I don't. I keep getting back into it. And a lot of times somebody did send me a Christian music playlist, and I enjoyed it, but there is something about it. I just can't get into that music the same way. There's certain songs, certain things I get into, certain Christian songs that I really like, but for the most part, I have a hard time with them. Maybe I need Christian country music. If you have a Christian country music playlist, I'd love to hear it. Gospel is one thing, they put out a lot of gospel albums, and I like that okay too. I listened to a Alan Jackson gospel album, and I really liked it. I thought it was good, but if it were just country music singing about Jesus, I'd be into it. But yeah, I get wild. I've tried to not drink throughout this podcast. I'm so thirsty. But I'm trying. Now I'm going to have a little sip. Just a small sip here, guys. Oh, yeah. I'm a hard swallower. It goes, I gulp it right down. I mean, that's what I'm into. All right, I got a couple of videos. I'm going to try to do this. I got someone that's doing a little editing to my podcast, putting this together for me, helping to make sure that this, podcast gets put out every week. So I'm hoping they edit this in. So what I'm going to do is what I'm calling like a blind react. Hannah has sent me 2 videos, and I'm going to try to watch those and then have the video edited into the podcast so that you can see what I'm seeing. This is just a first attempt at this. I might have tried this last week. I don't know. But here we go. I've not seen any of these. So we're going to try the first one right now.
If you're a grown-ass man, you're supposed to have a truck. Don't be calling me, talking about Zeus, man, you'll come help me move this washer and dryer. Hell no. Beamer, Benz, and Bentley head-ass motherfucker.
Okay, dirtier than I expected. But yeah, you're right, though. This guy's right. I mean, trucks are expensive, and so it's harder than ever to have a truck. I wanted a Toyota Tundra. A Toyota Tundra ranked very high on dependability. It's got a lot of power to it. It's a big truck. It felt good. Really what I want is a Chevy Silverado. That's what I want. I don't think there's a better looking truck out there than a Chevy Silverado from a few years ago. It's a great looking truck. That's what I want. But Chevy Silverado is very expensive, and I think it has, if you're really needing some towing power, I think that's where it comes in. I don't really need towing power. And the Chevy Silverado did not have great dependability on the things I looked at. The Toyota Tundra ranked number 2 after the, a Honda truck, which I'm not into. I don't like the Honda truck. I like the Tundra, though, so I went and looked at the Tundra. The Tundra was a good $10,000, $15,000 more than a Toyota Tacoma. And I was like, really, all I need is a Tacoma. I just want some space in the back to where I don't have to ask people to help me move. And if I see something on the side of the road, leaves, computer chair, a desk that I want to pick up, I can pick it up. So I do agree with this guy. I don't care for his language. But I do agree with him. And then here's another guy. This guy looks like he owns a truck too, so it's a very truck-themed reaction video.
I have said it before, and I'm going to say it again. When you chuck one of these at a random car, a passerby, and they just right back at you, I mean, it gives me the chills just thinking about it.
Okay, now what he's talking about, chunk one at you, giving a couple of fingers. When you're driving, you got your hand on top of the steering wheel, and then you give a couple of fingers up, throw them up when a truck's about to meet you, and then they give you one back. That's a good feeling. And I agree. I mean, my goodness. Where my dad lives, outside of Lafayette, Alabama, I one time did an experiment. This was years ago, 10, 15, 20 years ago. I don't know. But I was in a truck of some sort, maybe a Bronco 2, a full-size Bronco. I don't remember. But I was hitting everybody with the 2 fingers in the air. And every single person waved back to me. And that's what I'm talking about. It feels good. I agree with this guy. I don't agree with his hunting camouflage shirt or his hat, really. But I do like what he's talking about. I relate to the guy. And I also like that he still had a CD collection on his visor. I'm into that. Here's another country music thing. Before I say that, though, I want to say this last thing. There is 20? 25. There's 25 minus the free space, 24 bingo card squares, right? That's 24 different topics. I mean, you're not, like, if you had a 3-square bingo card and you were like, he's going to talk about one of these 3 things every podcast, I'd be like, whoa, you really nailed me, and I got to broaden my horizons. But 24 things. I mean, how many things are there even to talk about out here? I mean, how can you have more than 24 things to talk about? Most people, I don't even think, know 24 things to talk about. And I want to reiterate, I'm alone in a room here. You know what I mean? Okay. I hope those reaction videos were good. I'm going to try to do more of those. I'm going to try to get some clips, try to get a viral hit out here once in a while. All right, I wanted to talk about this. Morgan Wallen, speaking of raging against country music, has a new album out. And I keep seeing people online talking about what a banger this album is. And I got to think they're all AI. I got to think it's all bots out here. This album, I've not listened to the whole thing because I can't stop throwing up while I'm listening to it. It is so bad. Listen, I get opportunities to do things with, country musicians and stuff like that, and I probably ruin a lot of opportunities for myself by talking about these things. But it's bad, man. It is. Listen, if it's pop, if you're going, hey, I like the new pop star Morgan Wallen, I go, okay, I'm into it. It's kind of pop, R&B. I can get down with it. Just like before, I said Hardy. I heard a rock album by Hardy, and I was like, wow, this is pretty good. But he's not country, and I don't like what Morgan Wallen does in country music. I don't think it's good. And there's a song on here. I didn't listen to it, but it's Skoal, Chevy, and Browning. And I was a Ford guy growing up. I know I just talked about a Chevy Silverado, but you drive what you have an option to drive. And I was a Kodiak Wintergreen guy, and Browning I was never into. Browning seemed like expensive hunting wear, that it felt like people with a lot of money were wearing Browning. And it never was a style that I was all that into. I just never could get into it. And so these 3 topics, Skoal, Chevy, and Browning, it's just not my thing. And also in here it says, it's got the E for explicit. And I just don't understand why so many tracks are doing this. Why is there a parental advisory on country music? That's not what country is. Country should be good old music that you could put on and listen to with your family. That's my opinion. I know not everyone shares it, but it is my opinion. And let's see, I might have taken some notes of things that I could talk about on the podcast. Let's see if I did. Okay. It looks like I didn't. But, there is something that I want to talk about. I'm going to Vegas on July 25th. I'm going to be in Las Vegas. So I put together a list, top 5 movies about Las Vegas. So I got those here, and I want to go through this list, and I want to see if people agree. So here we go. My family has just shown up back home. All right, so top 5 movies about Las Vegas. Now, I'm going to start off with, I think, 5 movies that I think are all about Vegas, but I've not seen them. So I just want you to know I've not seen these movies. So if you're saying to yourself, why are those not in your top 5? I have to tell you, it's because I don't know them, okay? So there's Leaving Las Vegas, which I hear is good. Honeymoon in Vegas, which I hear is good. 3,000 Miles from Graceland, which looks awesome. Indecent Proposal, I think is about Vegas, but I may not be right about that. Smoking Aces and 21. I've not seen any of these movies, but my understanding is they're all about Vegas, and that is top 5 movies about Vegas that I've not seen. Now, top 5 movies about Las Vegas. I'm going to go number 5, The Hangover. Great movie. I don't know how much rewatchability it has, but I really enjoyed that movie. I liked it a lot. Okay, number 4, I'm going to go Casino. Great movie. Great movie. We all love it. Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, just a classic mobster film. Number 3, I'm going Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. It is honestly, I've not watched it in a long time, but it used to be one of my favorite movies. The first time I watched Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, I didn't even know what was going on. I was like, this is the most confusing movie I've ever watched. But after the, 30th time that I watched it, it's just an unbelievable movie. Benicio del Toro and Johnny Depp, their character work is so good in this. It's got cameos by Lyle Lovett, Christina Ricci. It's a sick movie, and I don't recommend it for anyone to watch. But I'm just saying, in the same vein that I've watched Deadpool and Wolverine, I've seen this movie, and it's a good one. Number 2, top five movies about Las Vegas. Number 2, Ocean's 11. Who doesn't love a heist movie? This is one of the best. Brad Pitt, George Clooney, Matt Damon, Bernie Mac, Don Cheadle, maybe? I don't know. Is he in it? It's been a while since I've seen it. But man, it's good. Scott Conn. It's a very good movie. If you've not seen it, see it. There's a 12 and a 13 too. I don't know if those are any good. Oh, Julia Roberts. Who's the bad guy? He's a real mobster kind of guy. I don't know if he's a bad guy, actually. He seems like a good guy. Actually, from what I gather, there's no reason to be stealing from this man. He was a nice guy. All right. Honorable mention is a movie called Heat with Burt Reynolds. This is not to be confused with the Heat that is Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. This is a different movie called Heat with Burt Reynolds. Very good. I remember seeing it years ago, and I liked it a lot. And now, number 1 on the list of top 5 movies about Las Vegas. Number 1, you guessed it, National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation. It's number 2 of these movies. There's Christmas Vacation, which will always be number 1. But number 2 is Vegas Vacation. It's underrated amongst them. But it is, I think it's the best. I mean, Randy Quaid and Chevy Chase going off to the other casino where they have games like Paper, Rock, Scissors and Pick a Number. It's such a good scene. All of it is so good. Rusty has a good string of luck while Chevy Chase loses everything. Beverly D'Angelo looks great. It's a good, fun movie, and I recommend it for everyone. So I'll be there July 25th in Las Vegas if you live in the area or if you just want to make a trip to come see me. I just got off the phone with some bookers about maybe doing some international touring, some touring down in Australia and London and possibly Germany. I don't know if I'm going to do it. I've never been much of an international traveler, to be honest with you, but it is being talked about. Thank you guys for watching this, and thank you for listening. Like I say, like, share, subscribe. This has been really fun for me. I hope it's been fun for you, and thank you very much. We're having a good time.